Yo, Jamie from Jamie's Detailing. Today I'm going to be showing you guys my maintenance process on one of my absolute biggest clients that I have here at Jamie's Detailing. Not only is his vehicle absolutely massive and definitely something that I don't see every day, but he is also one of my most consistent clients throughout the year, and he comes to me around every 3 weeks or so for a maintenance wash. So in today's video, I'm going to be showing you guys my maintenance wash process on huge sleeper tractors, but this will also work for most other semi-trucks, and it'll also work for other large vehicles like RVs and stuff like that. So whether you guys are owner-operators looking to clean your own large vehicles, or you guys are detailers looking to add this type of service to your guys' business, we're going to be going over the entire process from start to finish, including all the chemicals and stuff that I use for a service like this. And at the end of this video, I'm also going to let you guys know how much I charge for a maintenance wash like this. So make sure that you guys stick around to the end of the video so that you guys can hear exactly the value of a service like this. But let's not waste any time. Let's get straight into today's maintenance detail. So jumping into this maintenance detail, the very first thing that I do for any client's vehicle is an inspection. Now during this inspection, the biggest thing that I'm looking for is any damage to the vehicle, and I'm also at the same time looking for anything that we could also upcharge or any additional add-ons that we can add to that particular maintenance. So for this particular maintenance detail, I did notice a massive scratch going completely down the sleeper cab, and I talked to the client about this, and this is something that happened at a Blue Beacon when he was out on the road, where this is another place that he's just able to get his vehicle maintenance washed when he's out on these long trips. But occasionally when he's out there, damage does happen when he's at these quick wash places. So that is something that I'm really trying to look for, is any damage that may have been caused from any of the previous wash places that he's at, any damage that may be caused when he's out at these lots parking on different nights. He has been hit before and stuff like that, and in fact this vehicle just got back from the auto body shop, which is why it is in such good condition today. It was actually just washed at a very quick truck wash type place, but they didn't hand dry it or anything like that. So this vehicle is in very good condition compared to when I typically see it, but it has a ton of streaking and stuff like that from just being improperly washed at the place that he took it here locally, or the place that the body shop took it here locally, in order to just wash all the stuff off from when this thing was in the body shop. All the sanding and all the stuff that they do inside the body shop gets these trucks quite dirty when they're there, especially his truck was there for a couple weeks after a huge deer accident. So anyways, a whole bunch of new parts on this truck right now, so there's really not much damage, but there is some damage from a Blue Beak, or from one of these quick wash places that he was at down south. So after assessing the vehicle, I was able to talk to the client about any of the damages that I saw, and I was also able to upsell him or put another add-on on this maintenance service, and that was to ceramic coat the windshield. So I'll show you guys me ceramic coating the windshield at the very end of this maintenance process when we get to that point. But now that we've actually assessed the entire vehicle and done an inspection on it, we can also make a better decision on how we are actually going to go about doing our maintenance wash on this vehicle. And because this vehicle is in such good condition, we can keep it super simple today with only using a few different chemicals for this entire wash process. For the chemicals that we're going to be using for today's detail, the first chemical that I want to go over is Optimum No Rinse. Now the reason that I'm choosing to use this on today's particular maintenance detail is because the vehicle is not in that bad a condition. If this came back with a whole bunch of road film on the vehicle, it wasn't just in the body shop like it was, this typically comes back with a whole bunch of road film. It comes back with dirt and mud and road tar and all sorts of stuff slung up on it. But for today, we can actually keep things extremely simple with a bottle of O&R. And I'm going to be mixing this up in just a 5-gallon bucket and using it like normal, but You guys could also put this in a pump sprayer and do all that kind of stuff, but I'm going to be using this in a bucket and in a foam cannon in order to save time. So we'll talk about that when we get to that point. Now, the other cleaner that I'm going to be using for this particular detail for the tires specifically is Road Warrior. Road Warrior is an awesome pH neutral cleaner, and I know that this Road Warrior is not going to affect any of the chrome or any of the polished aluminum on this vehicle like a heavy APC or a APC-D would. Now, any caustic chemical when you guys are washing vehicles, if it drips onto the chrome or drips onto that polished aluminum, you may run into issues with needing to actually polish that stuff or do a quick hand polish on that stuff when you guys are done, in order to get the chrome and the aluminum looking the way that you want it to look and not have streaks and all that kind of stuff from the actual cleaners that you guys are using. So if you guys are using higher alkaline cleaners, just be careful when you guys are washing these big vehicles, because having those higher alkaline cleaners sitting on the chrome and sitting on the polished aluminum can definitely lead to that stuff getting faded and needing to be polished before you guys are done with that maintenance wash. Now, along with our two cleaners, I am also going to be using Easy Shine. This is a quick detailer from Superior Product, but we're going to be using this thing as a drying aid, and it's also just going to leave a little bit of added protection and a little bit of extra gloss on this vehicle to really just set it off and get it looking the way we want by the time we're done. So we'll be going over all of these in more detail as we get through this wash process. Starting off with the wash process on this vehicle, I always like to split these large vehicles up into sections. For this particular sleeper cab, I like to break it down into 4 sections, that being the very front of the vehicle, which is the whole front cab of the vehicle, the whole engine portion of the vehicle, the front of the vehicle, and then I also like to break the sleeper cab section of the vehicle into 3 other parts. So we have our first section, which is the cab, and then we have our sleeper, the left side and the right side, and we also have the rear of the sleeper. Now, you guys are going to notice that I didn't say anything about washing the roof of this vehicle, and 1, it's just super difficult to wash the roof of these vehicles. 2, the roof of these vehicles really don't see a lot of dirt and contamination because they're so dang high up above the road. And number 3, guys, is I really don't want to walk on top of this vehicle or have to source a ladder or anything like that for a simple maintenance wash. This is something that I typically take care of on the bigger details that we do on this vehicle throughout the year. So now that we broke this vehicle down into 4 different sections, I always like to start with the top of the vehicle and work my way down. Because this vehicle is so clean today and it just came back from the body shop with a wash, we're actually able to skip the pre-wash phase of this particular maintenance detail. Normally, when this vehicle comes back to me, it has quite a bit of road film on it. It could have bugs. It could have all sorts of contamination on the exterior of the vehicle. And normally, I like to pre-treat that with a pre-soak. That way, I can actually soak the entire vehicle, break down all those contamination, and then I can rinse it off the vehicle, and then we can get into whatever contact wash we can do. And I do that section by section. For this particular vehicle and for this particular instance of maintaining this vehicle, we can actually skip the pre-wash stage and we're going to go straight into the actual contact wash. Now, for the contact wash, I have O&R already mixed up in a bucket, and I also put up around 4 ounces of O&R in my foam cannon. Now, I just started doing this recently with O&R, especially on these larger vehicles, but I've been putting O&R in my foam cannon and actually foaming it onto the vehicle. That way it can start breaking down and emulsifying the vehicle. Instead of putting it in a spray bottle, it's just a whole lot easier on these really large vehicles to be able to put that in my foam cannon and pre-treat the vehicle that way. Now, after that O&R goes down on the cab of this vehicle, now I'm actually going to get into the contact wash of this vehicle, and that's where I'm actually using my big mitt on a stick to actually agitate the entire paint of this vehicle, working my way from top to bottom. Once I wash this whole first section of the vehicle from top to bottom, now I can actually get straight into the drying process. There's no need to rinse this vehicle because we're using O&R. And for the drying process, I am also reaching for my Easy Shine. This is what I'm actually going to spray directly on the vehicle when it's still wet with O&R. I'm going to go ahead and spray this on, and then I'm going to start my drying process. Not only is this going to make the drying process a little bit safer by throwing down a little bit of lubricity on that panel, but it is also going to make the panel look even better than if I just use O&R alone, because this is going to leave a little bit of carnauba wax on the surface and really just shine and make the paint pop the way that we want and the way that our client is looking for. And for this stuff, you really only need one spray for, I would say, about every 3 square feet or so of that panel. So if you're working on a huge panel like this hood, you probably only need like 3 to 4 sprays to do the entire hood. The door, you know, 1 spray is probably pretty good to do on the whole door. We're really just taking advantage of the quick detailer aspect of this stuff and the lubricity of this stuff to really just help shine up the paint a little bit more and make the drying process a little bit safer. And we're just going to simply repeat that process from top to bottom on all 3 of the other sections of this vehicle. And that honestly took me, guys, about 2 hours to get the entire vehicle done, going around it like that. So just so you guys can kind of estimate your time needed to actually clean a vehicle like this, it's going to take anywhere from 1.5 to 2 hours to clean or to go around all the paint on this vehicle and to get the boxes and everything like that. Now, once you guys get done with the drying process for that section of the vehicle, you guys are actually going to be done with all of the paint and stuff for that particular section, and then you can actually move on to the next section. Now, as we are moving on to the next section of this vehicle, the side of the vehicle, you guys are going to see all of these boxes here on the lower section of the vehicle. These boxes, if you guys were to be using a pre-treatment of some sort, these are what you guys really want to be aware of, not getting APC on, not getting stuff like that on them, because it can really deteriorate the finish that's currently on there. Now, if these were already looking super dull, then you can pretty much wash the vehicle however you guys want. They're going to need to get polished anyways. But if they are really shiny, like all these boxes and stuff on this particular vehicle, you really don't want to be using APCs and stuff like that. So just something to be aware of and just something to be careful of. Once you guys get done with all 3 of those other sections, you guys are actually going to be done with the entire cab of the vehicle, the sleeper portion and the front cab of the vehicle. So this whole process takes me anywhere from 1.5 hours to 2 hours just to do a simple rinseless wash on a vehicle like this. So just so you guys can kind of plan time-wise, if I was to do a pre-soak on this vehicle, I would probably add an extra hour to the maintenance detail itself. So that's how much extra I would charge for this particular vehicle. So once you guys get done with all of those sections, the next thing that we can actually move on to are the wheels and tires. Now, I always save the wheels and tires for the very, very end of the detail because this is the easiest part that you guys can mess up on. So I always try to avoid spraying the wheels. These Alcoa wheels are really sensitive to different cleaners and all that kind of stuff. And depending on what type of protection is on those wheels, they could fade pretty easily. So we're going to get these things cleaned and we're going to lay down a little bit of protection on them. And to clean these particular wheels and tires, for the tires themselves, we're going to be using Road Warrior. Road Warrior works awesome on these bigger vehicles with Alcoa wheels because this is a neutral cleaner and it's really not going to damage the finish that's currently on those Alcoa wheels. And this is a brand new truck, so everything's polished and looking how it should. So I really don't want to have to do extra work today, especially stuff that I'm not quoting for. Washing these wheels and tires, the first thing I do is I spray down all of the tires with Road Warrior. This is going to help break down all the dirt and stuff that's on those tires, and I'm going to spray the actual Alcoa wheels themselves just with Rinseless wash. These things don't need a lot of attention. They just need a good wipe down and a good drying off and a good little bit of detail spray to really get these things popping. So I do a quick scrub of the tire. Once I quickly scrub the tire, I take my time actually cleaning the Alcoa wheels. Typically, I'm just using a rinseless wash sponge or a microfiber towel. One of the two, either one will work just as well. Once I get done with the wash process on these wheels, I always apply some type of quick detailer or some type of protection to the wheels. In this case, we're going to be using Easy Shine. It's a carnauba wax and it looks absolutely phenomenal on these aluminum Alcoa wheels. So we're going to just apply a spray or two of our Easy Shine, and we're going to let that, and we're just going to buff that into the surface so that these things stay clean up until this next maintenance wash when we see it. Cleaning each one of these wheels is typically going to take you anywhere from 5 to 10 minutes, even when they're as clean as this. So you can easily figure, just to clean the wheels and tires on a semi-truck like this, cleaning 6 of them, it's easily going to take you guys around an hour to get that done. So on this detail, we're already at around 3 hours, and we really haven't done any of the finishing touches or anything like that quite yet. So once I get done with my wheels and tires, guys, this is when we can do all those finishing final touches on the vehicle. We can go around and wash all the windows with some kind of window cleaner. If you guys want, you guys can use a detail spray. That way you guys are also leaving some type of protection on those windows. But for today, we're actually finishing out this detail with a ceramic coated windshield. So the first thing that we're going to do is make sure the windshield is completely clean, and we're going to use some type of panel prep or alcohol or IPA mix in order to make sure the windshield is clean. Once we actually get done cleaning the windshield, now we can actually apply our ceramic coating. For this particular vehicle, I am using Superior Products Nano Ceramic Coating. It is a great ceramic coating, and I know that even on these trucks like this that are used for thousands upon thousands, literally hundreds of thousands of miles a year, I know that this coating is going to last well over a year. So that's typically what I warranty this for. This is a 3-year coating, but I do see it lasting not quite as long on windshields, especially when people are using windshield wipers and all of that type of stuff on it. So I really only warranty this coating on the front windshield for 1 year. But I always tell my clients that you're going to get at least a year out of it. Plus, if it doesn't last a full year, then I'll recoat it for you at no cost. So, anyways, once we got the ceramic coating actually applied, leveled out, buffed, we're actually completely done with this detail. So all said and done, guys, a detail like this can take me anywhere from 4 to 5 hours, especially adding on that ceramic coating add-on. Typically, I would say around 3.5 to 4 hours minimum for a detail like this. But with the film time and everything, this detail today took me about 5 hours. So I'll take an hour off of that because of the filming and other stuff that we were doing that day. But this detail, guys, could easily take you around 4 hours, and I charge $300 for the maintenance wash on this, and I charge an additional $100 for the windshield to be ceramic coated. So this whole detail job right here costs around $400, and you can have clients coming back around every 3 weeks or 3 to 4 weeks for this service. So this is a pretty lucrative service, a good service for a business to really get into. So if you guys aren't cleaning semi-trucks already, I would definitely suggest that you guys get into it. But that is my super simple maintenance wash process for sleeper tractors, semi-trucks, RVs. I like to keep it super simple. If it does need a pre-wash, I typically add another hour of time on there, so around 85 to 100 bucks I typically would add on to that detail package. But this is kind of where it starts for these huge semi-trucks, and it's really good business for a detailing business. And if you guys are owner operators, this is a massive way to really just keep your vehicle looking its best and to avoid some of the quick washes where a lot of times I'm seeing my clients come back with damage to their vehicles, whether it's a drive-through or even just the ones Blue Beacon type places where they're power washing your thing with 3,600 psi of pressure. But anyways, guys, this is an awesome service. I love doing these services. They get quite a lot of attention from people driving by and stuff like that, asking for business cards, asking what I'm doing, and all of that kind of stuff. So I love servicing clients like this, and I love working with semi-truck drivers and driving professionals who really care about their vehicles. But anyways, guys, that is my super simple maintenance wash process for semi-trucks. Let me know down in the description what your guys' process looks like when you guys are cleaning vehicles that look like this one. Is it something similar? Do you guys do a pre-wash step? Either way, do you guys kind of gauge the detail ahead of time and decide what the best process is going to be? Or do you guys have like a set process that you're doing every single time no matter what? But anyways, guys, that is pretty much all that I had for today's video. So I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.